Tonight, you might pour yourself a glass of wine without thinking twice about it. It feels modern, casual, something you choose. But the real reason you crave it goes back further than any invention, any war, any written word. It goes back before your species even existed. 10 million years ago, deep in an African forest, a small primate found a piece of fruit lying on the ground. The fruit had gone soft, overripe. Inside it, wild yeast had already begun breaking down the sugar, producing tiny amounts of alcohol. The primate ate it anyway. It felt something. A small lift, a little warmth. It had no idea why, but it remembered. Biologist Robert Dudley studies this exact moment in evolutionary history. He calls it the drunken monkey hypothesis. His theory is simple. For millions of years, primates that could smell and taste faint traces of alcohol were better at finding ripe, calorie-dense fruit. The buzz wasn't the point. It was a signal. Good food is near. Follow the smell. Over time, the primates who responded strongest to that signal survived better, ate more, and passed the trait on. So before your ancestors ever brewed a single drop on purpose, evolution had already wired something in the brain to light up around alcohol. What does that mean for you now? It means the craving didn't start with a bar, a bottle, or an advertisement. It started on a forest floor. Fast forward to about 13,000 years ago. A cave near modern-day Haifa, Israel. The people living there hadn't invented farming yet. They hunted. They gathered. They moved with the seasons. But archaeologist Donnie Nadell, who led the excavation there, found something strange carved into the cave floor. Stone mortars, worn smooth by grinding. Residue testing on those mortars turned up something you wouldn't expect from people with no crops. Traces of wheat and barley, soaked, sprouted, left to ferment. These people were brewing something like beer before they knew how to farm. Think about that for a second. The drink came before the bread. The drink came before the permanent home. That single detail rewrites a story historians told for a long time. The old version goes like this. Humans settled down, started farming, and eventually stumbled onto fermentation almost by accident. But this cave suggests something closer to the opposite. Some nomadic hunter-gatherers wanted alcohol badly enough that they figured out how to brew it before they had any reason to stay in one place. So what if the drink came first? What if the field came after? That question follows you to a site in modern Turkey called Göbekli Tepe. Roughly 1,000 years after that cave in Israel, people who still had no farms and no permanent homes did something enormous. They carved and moved massive stone pillars, some weighing over 10 tons, and arranged them into careful circles. For years, no one could explain the effort. Nomads don't usually build monuments. Then researchers found large stone vats at the site. Chemical testing showed traces of fermented grain, not small amounts, enough for a crowd. One leading theory now is that Göbekli Tepe wasn't a home. It was a gathering place. People traveled from far away, met, feasted, and drank together. Archaeologist Patrick McGovern has spent decades studying evidence like this, and his conclusion is bold. He believes the desire to keep brewing beer, not the desire to bake bread, may be one of the reasons humans started farming grain in the first place. Bread takes grinding, kneading, careful baking, a lot of steps. Beer barely takes effort by comparison. Soak the grain, wait, let nature do the rest. If McGovern is right, the plant that eventually fed the world may have first mattered to people because it made them feel good, not because it made them full. By around 7,000 BCE, at a village called Jiahu in central China, the evidence gets specific. Archaeologists uncovered pottery jars holding residue from a mixed fermented drink, rice, honey, fruit, hawthorn berries. This is the oldest confirmed recipe for an alcoholic drink found anywhere on Earth. Not an accident, not a single random ingredient, a blend, chosen on purpose. Whoever made that drink already understood fermentation well enough to combine several ingredients for a specific result. That's not luck. That's knowledge, passed down and refined. Push forward again, to ancient Egypt, and alcohol stops being a side habit. It becomes infrastructure. The workers who built the pyramids were partly paid in beer, several liters a day. Real wages, not just a treat. It made sense at the time. Water from the Nile wasn't always safe to drink. But the brewing process made beer cleaner, and it added calories those laborers desperately needed under the desert sun. So beer wasn't just a drink. For many workers, it was a paycheck and a meal in the same cup. Egyptians also folded beer into religion, temple offerings, medical prescriptions, rituals for the dead. One drink was doing the job of a wage, a water filter, a meal, and a prayer, all at once. So line it all up. 10 million years ago, a primate's brain lit up around fermented fruit, and it shaped what your ancestors were drawn to. 13,000 years ago, people were brewing before they farmed. 12,000 years ago, they may have built some of the first monuments in human history just to drink together. 9,000 years ago, someone had a recipe worth repeating. 5,000 years ago, an entire civilization ran partly on it. Alcohol didn't show up after humans built civilization. There's a real chance it's one of the reasons civilization got built at all. So tonight, when you pour that glass without thinking twice, you're not doing something modern. You're finishing something that started before your species even had a name for itself.